Okay, so the second part of the Political Parties lecture has to do with the theory of issue ownership. This is something that this guy John Petrosic from UCLA, and then he moved on, I think, to Wisconsin or something like that, came up with. And so first I want to start off, as always, with a definition. What do I mean by issue ownership? What does it mean when a party owns an issue? A party owns an issue when they have a reputation for doing a better job handling that issue than the other party. They have a reputation for doing a better job. Now, by the way, if I ask on this if I ask on the exam, what is the theory of issue ownership, or what does it mean to own an issue? Don't say the theory of issue ownership is that some parties own issues. You can't use a word to describe the word. Don't use own to describe the word ownership. So you got to point out that some parties have a reputation for doing a better job handling some issues than the other party. So if you look on your lecture notes, you'll see I've got 6 issues listed. Here's what I'm going to suggest to you, even though we may have met. Even though I don't know your political views, probably, unless we've talked. But when I'm recording this, we haven't even met. So I definitely don't know your political views because I've never even met you. I have no idea who the hell you are. Okay? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go down that list, and I want you to go ahead and mark down, circle, whether you think the Democrats or the Republicans have a better reputation for handling the job better. So, for example, with national defense, who has a reputation for handling national defense better, Republicans or the Democrats? And then next, go down to education. Which party has a better reputation for handling the issue of education, Republicans or Democrats? Then move on to the environment. Which party has a better reputation for handling the environment, Republicans or Democrats? What about issues of law and order? You know, keeping the peace, things like that, keeping criminals locked up. Which party has a better reputation for handling that particular issue? Then civil rights. Which party has a better reputation on civil rights? And then lastly, which party has a better reputation dealing with family values, things like same-sex marriage, things like that. Now here's what I'm going to guess. Even though you've probably never heard of the theory of issue ownership, I'll bet you got most of the answers right. So let me tell you which parties own those issues. On national defense, Republicans own that issue. They're thought to have a better reputation of handling national defense better than the Democrats. On education, Democrats own that issue. On the issue of the environment, Republicans own that. Oh, kidding. Democrats own that issue. On law and order, Republicans own that issue. On civil rights, Democrats own that issue. On family values, Republicans own that issue. Now, I don't know how you scored, but in class, usually students get about 85 to 90% of students get those right, or at least get 5 out of the 6 right. People know which party owns what issue, even if they didn't even know, even if they didn't know until that lecture what it meant. They know which party owns which issue. So there are some issues that are owned issues that can be owned, and sometimes there's a battle over who owns it. It used to be that Democrats owned the issue of education completely. Then President Bush, when he came into power, started pushing No Child Left Behind. It was his way of saying, look, I'm not willing to say and give up the idea that Democrats own education, and so we're going to work on education. And so that was an attempt on the part of President Bush and the Republicans to sort of take ownership of the issue of education, or at least be able to say, no, the Democrats don't own this, we do this stuff too. So there are some issues that can be owned, and then there are other issues that we call performance issues. No one party owns them. It basically depends on how you perform when you're in office. And there are 2 main performance issues that I want to talk about: the economy and war. When the way it works is when the economy's going well, things are going good, jobs are being created, things like that. This almost always helps members of the president's party. The president's party will do better when the economy is going good. When the economy is going poorly, members of the president's party will go ahead and be hurt by that. If there's a war going on, and if the war is popular, not because people like war, but if it's a popular war in as much as people think, A, that we needed to get involved, and 2, that we're getting the job done, if it's a popular war in that regard, that's good for the president's party. If the war is unpopular, people want to get out, that's bad for the president's party. So everything hinges on, we tend to credit presidents when the economy is going well, blame them when it's going poorly, even though they really don't have that much control over the economy. They have a little bit more control over the whole war situation, but not the economy. But those are performance issues. It's how you perform that matters. So, what does this mean for 2012? Well, what I tell you is this. If the economy is going well and continues to improve, I'm doing this on March 22nd. They just reported like a 4-year low in terms of jobless claims. So it looks like, at least right now, the economy is slowly getting better. Jobs are being created, have been for the last 3 months. If that continues, then President Obama is going to be in pretty good shape. Because if people believe the economy is getting better, that's good for his party. If the economy takes a downturn, if things slow down, if the high gas prices cause the recovery to stall, if unemployment, instead of going down, starts going back up, that's going to be bad for the president, because this is a performance issue. And if the economy is performing poorly, Americans will blame the president. That's what we do. Doesn't make much sense, but that's what we do. And now I want to move on to the last topic. Something called, well, people frequently complain about the fact that we have a two-party system, meaning that there are basically only 2 political parties that ever win our elections. And that's true. We have a two-party system. Basically have since the beginning of the Union. The parties have just changed, but we have a two-party system. Well, the reason that we have there's a reason we have a two-party system. There's something called Duverger's law. I know it's spelled Duverger's, but it's actually pronounced Duverger. And this is what this isn't a law that was passed by Congress. This isn't a law that, anybody passed. Political scientists like to pretend that this is a law like the law of gravity, right? It's not that kind of law. We don't have any of those kind of laws in political science. But a lot of political scientists like to talk about this like this is a law. So let me tell you what it says. Two-party systems develop in all political systems that have single-member districts and winner-take-all rules, or plurality rules. So that probably isn't going to make very much sense. Let me go ahead and just explain what I mean by a single-member district. For people who are running for the House of Representatives, imagine this is a congressional district, right? There it is right there. Oh, let me do one of my amazing drawing things, since we have so many skills here. I don't know. Oh, here, let me do it this way. So I want you to imagine that this, let me move over so I don't, whoa, that wasn't supposed to happen. Here we go. This is a congressional district. Okay? So this can be a congressional district anywhere. Let's just say it's in, I don't know, Wyoming. Oh, all of Wyoming is a congressional district. There's only one member of the House. So that's a congressional district in Wyoming. It is Wyoming. It's not drawn correctly, but don't worry about it. Only one person represents this congressional district. In some countries, what they have is they'll go ahead and there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who might represent this one district. In our political system, it doesn't work that way. In our political system, there's just going to be one person who represents each congressional district. That's why we call it a single-member district. There's just one person representing the district. Then, some states have, in their elections, have what is called winner-take-all rules, plurality rules. If you get more votes than the other guy, you win. Well, the way it works out is that, and this is something that political scientists have found over and over again, that whenever we find political systems that have these single-member districts, so where there's just one person representing a district, and you have winner-take-all rules, the plurality rules, whenever you have both of those things together, what tends to happen is you get two parties. Because the third party, somebody who comes in third place in a winner-take-all rule, gets nothing. And so in a system where, in some systems, if let's say the Democrats, let's say the Republicans get 40% of the vote, and the Democrats get 35% of the vote, and then the Libertarian Party gets 25% of the vote. If that happened in every congressional district across the country, so every district was the same, 45% for the Democrats or Republicans, 35 for the Democrats, and 25, and whatever the remaining amount is for the Libertarian Party. The party that comes in third gets nothing, gets zero. Party that comes in second gets nothing, gets zero. Only if you come in first do you win anything. So third parties, like the Libertarian Party, that always come in last place, it's very hard for them to win any kind of representation because it's not based on proportion. Now, in a system based on proportional representation, if the Republicans got 45% of the vote, the Democrats got 30% of the vote, and Libertarians got 25% of the vote, the way it would work is that Libertarians would get 25% of the vote, of the representatives as well. In our system, coming in third place means nothing. You come in third place, nada. You come in second place, nada. So in most states, what you have is you have the Democrats and the Republicans battling one another with a bunch of other parties that also are usually on the ballot. The Libertarian Party, the Peace and Freedom Party, the Green Party, all these other parties that are on the ballot. The thing is, those parties always come in third, fourth, fifth, sixth place, and as a result, they never win. And in our case, based on Duverger's law, what we know is if you have that, you'll get a two-party system in any political system that has single-member districts and winner-take-all rules. Those two things together, single-member districts where just one person represents the district, and winner-take-all rules or plurality rules, you always wind up with a two-party system. So the only way that it's ever likely to change in the United States that we're going to have a third party is if these rules change. Who has control over the rules? The Democrats and the Republicans. Are they likely to change the rules to allow for a third party to develop? I don't think so. No, they're not. And so we're likely to have, as we have since the beginning of the Union, a two-party system based on, and this is what Duverger's law tells us. That's it.